So a couple of months ago, I decided that I wanted to do a video reviewing Starfield. And I did end up getting very busy, but over those past couple of months, I've been able to record and play through the main story of Starfield, and now I can finally sit and edit everything. So hopefully to whoever watches this, you all enjoy. Now, Starfield was being developed by Bethesda Softworks, and they started back in 2015 after the release of Fallout 4. Apparently, they had immediately started development on it, and it was constantly being delayed. And up until 2023, we didn't really know much about it. But 2023 was finally the year that Bethesda decided to release it. The release didn't really go as I assume they hoped for, but nonetheless, we got a new game out of it from these developers who made one of my personal favorite games of all time, which was Fallout 4. Now, this is kind of going out of my comfort zone because I've only played the Fallout games from Bethesda. I've never played like Elder Scrolls or Skyrim or all of that. And I wanted to go into this new universe that they created, just all my fond memories with Fallout aside, and just give a complete honest review of the main storyline because me personally, I buy games for the story, and I know there's tons of like side quests and everything you could do in these games, but I personally just wanted to focus this main video on the story. So please join me as I take a deep dive into the main story of Starfield. The date is May 7th, 2330. They open our journey up on the moon of Vectera, and we're a part of the Argos mining team, as we ride down an elevator with our supervisor Lynn and our right-hand man Heller. My first time walking around these caves, I can see a lot of detail that they put into this opening scene, and I really do hope it stays like that throughout the game. Lynn walks us to a container with a tool called the cutter. We use this to mine the resources until Lynn calls us back up to watch Heller breach a wall in the cave. The thing we're supposedly hunting reads on our scanners as an anomaly, and since I'm the main character and the new guy in town, they send me in without helping me at all. We go through the cave and find deposits of calamite encasing a strange object. Once we're able to grab it, this is what we see. We wake up and this is where we do our character creation. I make him look close enough to myself, and since it's my job in real life, I give him the chef background, which will give me a starting boost to melee weapons, scavenging, and crafting food and drinks to start. For our traits, we take extrovert, which makes us use less oxygen when with human companions, hero worship, which I end up never using because the annoying fan comes up way later in the game when he would make no difference, and terra firma, which increases our health and oxygen on planets but decreases it when in space. We finalize our character by naming him Joshua, my name, and we're on our way. As we head outside to meet our buyer, I get distracted with the super realistic physics.
Yeah, come on. Exploring space? Who does that anymore? Ain't the space we've already got complicated enough?
Not to them, probably.
We meet our seller, Barrett, and we get attacked by pirates from a group called the Crimson Fleet. We take them out and we get our first melee weapon, the rescue axe. We use that to take out the rest and head back to Barrett. Now I'm going to be completely honest here, this first bit of gunplay was a little underwhelming to me. I feel like it is a bit of a step backwards for the games that they're going to make in the future, just because it feels like a combination of Fallout 3's gameplay with mixed a little bit with Fallout 4's gameplay. I feel like the animations make it seem like it should be smoother, but it just doesn't feel that smooth. I get it's more of a sci-fi feel, so they're probably making it feel closer to other games that are sci-fi feeling, but I don't know, I just really enjoy the combat in Fallout 4, so maybe I'm just complaining to complain, but I don't personally like it. Barrett says we need to go to his group, Constellation, since I've seen the visions that he's apparently seen as well. We trade places because Lynn is pissed at Barrett and he has to stay. So he gives us an Apple Watch and we're on our way. They also tried to pull a Codsworth with us by having the robot companion Vasco be able to say our name, but he can never be him. I do end up looking at the research table that's on the ship, but I end up really never using it because it doesn't affect the main storyline, which is, again, all we're focusing on for this video. I won't lie, watching this for the first time did get me really hyped for the rest of this game. We do a little tutorial on how to fly and distribute power to our ship's systems, as well as a little combat tutorial. And what do you know, we do another tutorial type mission that doesn't come up later at all if you focus solely on the main story. You won't get attacked by Crimson Fleet and solar systems if you go to the base they set up in abandoned labs and you kill their leader. I actually end up never doing one of these ever again in the whole playthrough, but I think that's mainly on me because I think Vasco gives you these missions to go kill the leaders because he did give it to us first because he scanned the planets or something. But I end up not keeping him on my ship for the entire time, so partially that's on me, but again, it's kind of lame to do this in a tutorial mission and like not really have you do it ever again. We grab jump to another solar system and land on Jemison in New Atlantis. We go to a lodge where Constellation is waiting for us, and use our Apple Watch to open the door. And now this is the only time that we use this watch, so you could probably see a trend here. We meet the main core of Constellation. Sarah's the leader, Walter's the prick, Mateo's an optimist, and Noelle is the theorist. Then I get to witness what I feel is one of the worst voice acting scenes I've ever had to sit through.
The artifact. If you could place it on the table here.
That's it. Just like the others.
And to imagine, we thought there were only 2 of them at first.
Oh my god, that's it. They're reacting. Look at how it's coming together. That energy that's arcing between them, no manufactured material in the settled systems can do that. None of them. This proves that—
Easy, girl. Breathe. You'll have a heart attack.
We go to the United Colonies Vanguards to follow up on a lead for another artifact. We get the lead, buy some medical supplies, then we're off to Mars. Our lead isn't there though, and his bartender won't tell us where he is because the guy owes him money. We pass a persuasion check, and he tells us he was spewing about the Lady of Love, which is who the Greek goddess Venus was. So we go to Venus and sneak by a new faction called the Varun Zealots, who are basically a cult for a giant snake, I guess. But we reach a satellite beacon, which our lead sent out a signal that he's by Earth's moon. We dock into a station and fight through spacers and ecliptics. I find nothing too interesting, just a couple weapons that do things like 10% more damage to aliens or 30% more damage in space. We find a slate that our lead left behind, and he basically tells us he fucked off to Neptune. We find a ship, kill his captors, and he gives us the next artifact. I will say, this is the most unique mission in my opinion to get one of these artifacts in the game. It has you follow clues to track down the guy who has the artifact, and you actually learn about the guy. And I just think that it's a really unique mission, but it's really one of the only unique missions in the game to get the artifacts. You'll soon see how most of these play out. We meet Sam and Cora Ko from the Freestar Collective faction, and we head to Aquila City. We try to help a stalemate between the marshal and some bank robbers, but we can't talk them out of it, so we do the only rational thing. We sneak in through the back and kill them. Now that the bank is free, we can search for some maps that Sam says will lead us to more artifacts. But his family member Jacob, unfortunately, took them. He won't give them to us, so I turn on my charm, and he gives them to me, so I'll leave him alone. We fight through people called the Shaw Gang and go to a cave to get another artifact. And yep, that was it. Go to where the artifact is, kill some people, take the artifact, leave. But as we do leave, we get confronted by Shaw, the leader of the Shaw Gang, obviously. She wants to kill us, but since this is a Bethesda game, we can talk our way out of it. We help them deal with the alien thingies, she gives me a gun I'll never use, and we leave. When we get back, I decide to have Sam stick with me as my companion for this playthrough. Now, this was the end of my first recording, and we were about 3 hours into the game at this point, and I think it's a good time to remind you guys that I'm just focusing on the main story, and I'll tell you why right now. I personally enjoy RPG games. I wanted to see how many RPG elements actually got implemented into the main story for this game, because it is labeled as an RPG online at least, so I just wanted to see what Bethesda would do. I understand there's hours and hours and hours of side quests and tons of stuff you could do in this game, but honestly, that's a different video that I'll do later on. But for now, we're just focusing on the main story. So Sarah then asked us to go up to a space station called the Eye, and we speak with a man named Vladimir to find out where more artifacts are. Vlad sends us to 2 different planets where both have an artifact, but one we end up finding a missing member of Constellation. The first planet, we kill everyone, grab the artifact. Next one, we find the Dami Mami Andreja and get the artifact. But before we found her, I gotta say I found something that's a 1 in a million for Bethesda. A gun that doesn't look fucking stupid. Too bad there's no fucking ammo with it. We head back and Vlad tells us he found an anomaly that's similar to the artifacts but much larger. So he sends me to a general area where I use my scanner to run towards a building called Temple Ada. When we enter, we get to do the most entertaining minigame in any video game ever. We wake up and discover it gave us a power. We get the anti-gravity field, which we never use except when we go back and show the crew. We go to another temple, Temple Alpha, do the minigame, and get the personal atmosphere power. Now again, this is something we just have to repeat over and over again, just like those artifact grab and goes, because for every artifact, there's a temple. And this is where I felt the game got really repetitive, because it was just going to every temple, which all looked exactly the same. And at least in the artifact missions, there was a chance it could be a little bit different, like you could find new weapons and everything, but at the temples, it's literally just go into it, get the stupid power, do the stupid mini game, and then you get it. It doesn't change at all, really. We go to Temple Chi and Temple Zeta, and we get the Grab Dash and Grab Dash 2 power. This power is the only power I actually use because it just helps me get away from close calls. We go to Temple Beta and get the Gravity Wave power. Then we finally head back to where it all started on Vectera to check up on Barrett and Lynn. Lynn tells us Barrett and Heller got taken. We look for clues for where they are, and we go to find Heller next to a crashed ship they hijacked. We leave him because he's in bad health, but good spirits at least, so that cancels out. We go to a Crimson Fleet base where Barrett is, and I actually get one of the pistols I used for most of this playthrough. I get the Explosive Side Star, which if you've ever played Fallout 4, explosive legendaries are the best legendary effect you can get. And I think I got lucky because this was the only one I found in this playthrough. We paid the Crimson Fleet 4,000 credits to let Barrett go, bring him back, and Walter says he knows where we can get an artifact. We head to the steampunk city that is Neon and do a tedious amount of running back and forth until eventually we meet with the guy who's selling the artifact. With our meeting set up, we go upstairs to the VIP lounge where he asks for double what we agreed upon, so we intimidate him and he sells it for the original price. While we leave, we get confronted by Slayton's security. Slayton was the original owner of the artifact and the seller stole it from him, apparently. He impounded our ship, so we sneak through his building, scale it up to his office, where he confronts us. He gives us our ship back because Walter says they can help benefit his company, because Walter is co-CEO of a big company that designs and builds ships, and they're stationed on Neon. But before we leave, Slayton asks us what we should do with the employee he caught who stole the artifact. We let him go, and when we leave Neon, this is what we encounter.
I could really bend your ear when you got engines blowing. Let's do this. Apology complete. We're in orbit.
You hold something you have no right to. My people have killed for this. But I will offer you one chance to hand over the artifact and turn away from this path.
That's not any type of ship I recognize.
You say that now, but your kind is not ready for the artifacts. The Starborn know what you are, what you are capable of.
That is a very broad statement applied to a very select few. I find it reductive and insulting.
Tell us, please. What are the artifacts? What are they for? Did you make them? What gives you more right to them than humanity?
Answering your questions is exactly what we cannot allow. Abandon your thirst for knowledge, or drown in it. We are growing impatient. Cease your attempts to stall for time.
But you speak our language.
We know everything about you. That is why your kind cannot have the artifact. The more you understand, the more damage you will do.
How could just knowing what you are be dangerous?
Our distance from you is the whole point. We interfere now because we must.
I'm not liking what I'm seeing on the scans. Energy output from that ship is far above the normal range. If we spin up the grav drive now, we have a chance. We'll get through this. Hold on.
We grab jump out of there and head to the lodge. We tell everyone what happened, and now everyone is aware of who is protecting the artifacts. The Starborn. Vlad lets us know where another temple is and 2 other artifacts. We go to Temple Iota and get the precognition power. We also get attacked by a Starborn Guardian, so from now on they'll attack us whenever we get a power or artifact. We then go to Temple Nu and get the Creator's Peace power, then we hunt down the artifacts. When hunting the first one, I get my main melee weapon from now on, which is a blade that can set enemies on fire, and it has a super high base damage anyway, so might as well use it. When we return to the lodge, Mateo's being a little bitch, and Vlad needs help repairing the eye. I try to help, but I end up doing more harm than good. Vlad seems unfazed by it, and sends me and Barrett to go get another artifact that another person has in their collection. So we fly to their ship and convince them to let us on. We meet Captain Petrov, who shows us his exquisite collection, and when we try to ask for the artifact, he won't let anyone put a price on it. So we do what we do.
Wait! I surrender! I surrender! Don't kill me!
We convince him to let us leave, and we do just that. We now have a bounty on our head in the United Colonies systems, though. When we get back, we learn the Eye was attacked by the Starborn. I decided to go up there to help them, and in the process, I end up saving Sam, Cora, Mommy Andrasia, Sarah, and Vlad. We head back, and sadly, Barrett ended up passing away, and Sam gave a heartfelt message from an uncomfortable distance.
He's got one foot in the pearly gates already. It's over. We're gonna find all those artifacts. Okay, Barrett? We'll solve this mystery. I swear. He's gone.
We help everyone else and go into the basement to find Noelle with the artifacts. She gives them to me, and a Starborn named the Hunter starts his chase. We flee to our ship, and when we take off, the Hunter's ship lets us go. He says he feels we have a greater purpose in all of this. Vlad and Noelle tell us we need to get the artifacts somewhere the Starborn can't find them. We either have to put them on our ship or at an outpost with defenses set up. I chose my ship because I don't want to worry about having to come all the way back to one point every time I get a new artifact. Back at the lodge, Mateo reminds us the hunter was mentioning the Unity. He also has heard the local priest mention Unity many times, so we take a shot in the dark and head over to talk to him. When we get inside the church, I finally fucking run into that annoying fan I was promised at the beginning of the game. And again, this is the only time I ever see this fan in the entire playthrough I do. Anyways, we chat with the priest while Sam waits for his turn on the Xbox. He tells us about this pilgrim who walked every corner of space and found the true meaning of unity. They apparently gave two factions each part of the truth, the Enlightened and the Varun cult. Both have people in New Atlantis, so we talk to both of them. The Enlightened tells us the pilgrim would have come back and asked the same question every week. If your philosophy is built on an individual's own morality, what about the second person? That second person might disagree. Isn't the problem of two what you're really looking for? And they responded with, each individual must understand how the second person lifts them up. All of human effort is a story of cooperation pushing us forward, which basically boils down to the fact that humans help each other because they choose to, not because we're forced to by a god or superior being. We visit the Varun person in the local jail, and they tell us one of their founders ran into the pilgrim and they fought 4 times over 120 rotations of the planet they were on. So with this information, we go back to the priest and he says the problem of 2 may refer to the second planet in the solar system. 4 fights over 120 rotations may refer to coordinates, and the infinitum addendum the pilgrim mentions in their story can be broken down into the solar system indum. So with that info, the second planet in the indum system at coordinates 4, 120 will be the pilgrim's final resting place. I don't like how the priest is an NPC we just met, and to find out like something that seems very important to the story of this game, we just tell him, oh, this is what they told us, this is what they told us. And he goes, oh yeah, this means that and that means that. I just wish it was more pushing the player to figure it out. I don't really know how they would do that. I would at least hope that you would know the NPC before, like you would meet the character before, and like maybe later on they show up, maybe they disappear for a bit, figure stuff out, and then show back up later on. But this situation is just, you meet the priest, he tells you go here, you come back, and it's all figured out. I don't really like that. But we go to Indum 2 and search the pilgrim's final resting place. They leave behind their writings, and here is a quick summary of each one. Number 1. The simplicity of humans amazes the pilgrim. They say their inner thoughts, which they refer to as the evil spirits, makes them want to despise and look down upon them. But they remember they have seen and understood many things normal people have not. They wish to be left alone, and that humans will one day understand. Number 2. They need more help. Their patience seems to be wearing down with the people around them, as they wonder how the pilgrim can believe in both science and a religious presence. They try very hard to slightly point the people in the right direction. They genuinely care about the people around them, no matter how annoying or unhelpful they may be. Number 3. People ask if there's anything above the unity. They get frustrated with these people because whatever they say is misunderstood and gets passed along in a different, twisted way the pilgrim has tried to explain it to them. They say people are necessary, but people are madness. He tries to leave them, and of course, they followed. Number 4. They feel they have changed. They finally get alone time and they say, the unity has restored me once more. They see themselves as a powerful opponent, and they see how they change, as they call themselves a very sick man. They hate what they became. Number 5. They start thinking of different futures for themselves. They feel if they led a normal life of living, teaching, and dying, they would be more content with that life than what they have now. They feel more fulfilled when they think about this, and they feel happy they took the time to think about it. And finally, number 6. They're content with not knowing all the answers to the unity. They embrace that they are exactly where they're supposed to be. They'd rather create with intent rather than trying to fix what others have messed up. And this is the end of their journey, and on Hyla 2, the scorpion's sting hides the truth. We head to Hyla 2 and land on a little island with ancient ruins located on it. There's a map on the ground, and we must find the scorpion's sting using the beam of light and the glyph to control it on the map. We eventually find it, and now we can head to the Scorpius ship. We find the hunter aboard the Scorpius. They invite us onto their ship with another starborn, the emissary, to attend their meeting. They consider it a ceasefire meeting. We agree to come in peace, and we dock the ship. We enter the hunter's badass ship, and as we talk, we learn more about the starborn. They're individuals who can choose to unite or be in it for themselves. They say the unity is a gateway to be reborn, and the emissary reveals that they're actually Barrett. They've traveled through hundreds of universes and seen different outcomes. The one the original Barrett came from, I had actually died, and Barrett went on to find the rest of the artifacts and become a starborn. The hunter says the emissary believes only the worthy should enter the unity, and reveals that he's actually the priest from New Atlantis, the one that leads us to the pilgrim's resting place. They tell us we need to combine our artifacts with one of them to enter the unity. So at this point, we're entering the beginning of the endgame, in my opinion. And we're about 9 hours into the gameplay so far. And judging based off of what people say, the story takes 20 to 30 hours. And that's actually excluding all of the missions to get the powers, because that's not necessary for the story. And I end up getting all of the powers, so I don't know if these estimates are really true, because this did not take 20 hours to complete. It barely took 15. We head back to the lodge and get our next missions for the artifacts. We actually end up having to buy a ship with enough grab drive power, so we buy the Rambler. We head to the place with an artifact, and we get one of the most unique quests in the whole game, in my opinion. First, we get a distress signal from the lab we're going through, and when we head down, they tell us there's no emergency. So we go in, talk to their security, and he leads us to the director. But as we walk through, we phase into a different reality. The lab is run down and overrun by these spider-looking things. We phase back, and when we get back to the rundown area, we find out what's going on. So throughout this mission, we're going to be phasing through two different versions of reality. In both of them, there was a hydrogen explosion in the lab. But in one of the realities, it was contained, and this one guy named Raphael died. In the other reality, which is the rundown reality we go through, everyone died except for Raphael. So we have to phase between each of these realities and decide which one we're going to stick with. And they actually have a device that uses some super duper science stuff to calibrate whatever energy thingy to spawn anomalies that let me travel between each reality. We then need to get down to the research level and shut down the probe that will end these reality shifts. And again, whichever one we're in when we shut it down, that's our reality for good. Then comes the annoying maze of going in and out of realities to chase computer shutdown systems until we eventually shut down the systems in the intact lab reality. Rest in peace to Raphael, grab the artifact, and get a legendary armor which we use for the rest of the game. It does 15% damage protection from aliens, can light enemies that hit us on fire, and automatically uses a med pack when our health is below 25%. We leave and then go to the next artifact spot and get that one as well. We head back to the lodge and wait a couple of days to attend Barrett's ceremony, which wasn't too interesting. You get to say what you want about him, but I never used him as my companion except for that one quest, so I leave and move on. Now look, I tried, okay? I really tried to stay for the whole thing, but Mateo just went on some religious spew about some bullshit I didn't want to listen to, and everyone else was just really boring. So, sorry. But now we're gonna go do what has become my favorite mission in the entire game. It starts by going to an old space station on Earth's moon. We hear the recording of the first ever grav jump to Jupiter.
Counting down in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Indicators look good. The ship should be cruising Jupiter's orbit right now. Visual confirmation will be possible in 32 minutes. The speed of light is on the slow side these days.
How does it feel to break the laws of physics, Canaveral?
We're all pretty excited down here in NASA, I won't lie.
Excited enough to tell me where you got the original data?
Not in a million years, Nova.
We head down to the headquarters of NASA down on Earth, and this is where my favorite journey begins. First, we have to scale up the building and use power cells to restore power to parts of the building, including the elevator, which we then use to ride down into NASA. We listen to a log on a terminal that the military brought back something from Mars that was secret, so our goal now is to find out what that exactly was. We go through a cave and enter the museum. This is my favorite area in the entire game. I absolutely love space and everything to do with it. I've always found the vast emptiness of it intriguing, but also absolutely terrifying, which is exactly how I feel about the ocean as well. When I was a kid, we went down to Washington, D.C., and we walked through areas like this area in the game with my dad telling me all about the Apollo missions and the space shuttles and all the stuff like that. It's been one of my more fond memories as a kid, so seeing an area like this in a game is so fucking cool. So I walk through this whole area and read every single sign because there's actually like pieces of stuff that actually happened in our history where like there was technology from the Apollo 11 mission, which landed us on the moon back in 1969 even. But we also learn about the Leaving Earth Forever mission. In 2150, the scientist on Earth had discovered that in about 50 years, the atmosphere would sputter out and make life on Earth inhabitable. And the invention of the grav drive, which is something we use in the game all the time, is the only reason that humans could survive because it was able to shoot us to planets that had livable and breathable atmospheres that we could survive on. After going through and reading all of the entries for each display, we find a slate that records scientists baffled that the mysterious object they found is made of no known materials. There's no gravity readings, untraceable frequencies, and has no melting point. It's unexplainable to them. We explore deeper and we find another old Earth gun with some pretty good stats. We eventually find another computer entry where we hear what happened when the prototype grav drive was powered on. The room apparently had a reverse gravitational pull and objects began to float. Then we read about how scientists worried about possible outcomes for the future, while everyone else was worried about producing hundreds of the newly discovered grav drives. We enter a part where we begin to float all of a sudden. We find the room where the prototype grav drive was held and tested with. We reach the room with one of the dead scientists that we've been hearing talk in the recordings, and we log into the NASA research computer. We get the password and we discover the mysterious object that they were talking about was the first ever artifact discovered by humans. And the artifact caused the phenomena that would eventually render Earth unlivable. We release it, grab it, and run back through NASA with the starborn attacking us. An epic battle of me running away and not fighting the enemies. We meet with the hunter and the emissary outside, and this is where we make our choice. The emissary, the hunter, or neither, and go on our own. Now, my main gripe with this game is this is the only choice in the entire game that alters the ending. I just can't understand how you can call this an RPG when there's one choice in the entire game that affects the ending. But I do decide to side with the hunter.
Finally, common sense.
He tells us how to get as much powers as we can, as well as ask us to kill his counterpart, the priest in New Atlantis. We go to find as much powers as we can in case we need them in the final endgame stage. We go to Temple Lambda for the Eternal Harvest power, Temple 5 for the Alien Reanimation power, Temple Tau for the Reactive Shield power. Then when we head to the Eye, we get stopped by SysDef, a security company, and they take us in for that bounty we got a long time ago when we stole that one artifact from the Russian captain.
Wait! I surrender! I surrender! Don't kill me!
The captain comes in and tells me to work with him or be thrown in jail for more days and my bounty will be more. I tell them to fuck off, and I go to jail for 5 days and lose 500 XP. And since they're insecure pussies, they declare me their enemy, and the game tells me I have no choice but to join the Crimson Fleet. I end up not joining them, and surprise, surprise, it makes no difference in the story whatsoever, so it's just a pointless rivalry that they start with me. We finally get to Vlad and get more temple info. We go to Temple Theta for the solar flare power, Temple Omicron for the void from power, and finally Temple Psi for the elemental pole power. We actually have 3 more undiscovered temples apparently, but Vlad says he doesn't know where any more temples are, so I stock up on medical supplies and ammo, and head to kill the priest. When I do so, Sam is mad at me, but no one else is. Anyways, we head to the hunter and tell him we killed him. He gives us a weapon that is my new endgame weapon, the Last Priest. We then start heading to the endgame section, which leads us to loading screen after loading screen after loading screen. We get stopped by the emissary and other starborn and get in the only space fight in the entire game since the tutorial. And since this is the case, I end up dying a bunch of times. We eventually take out the starborn ships and the emissary teleports away because we got his health low enough, but we barely survive with a sliver of health. We land at an old military base that apparently has a buried temple inside. The hunter joins me as my companion and we fight through starborn and make our way through the base. We find anomalies that take us to the multiverse of our past. The first one just takes us back to the opening sequence of the game where we found our first artifact. The next one takes us to Captain Petrov's ship, but this time he confronts us and tells us we don't deserve to finish the collection of artifacts, that we as thieves don't deserve the path to the infinite. We leave and apparently it's the temple trying to get to our heads, so we continue on. The last one shows us a universe where we were the ones who died up in the eye. We ride down an elevator and finally reach the temple. We then go into an intense fight where we fight guardians of the temple and they spawn in duplicates of us and the hunter. And here's the thing, I spent so long on this because I didn't realize I had to kill the head guardian to stop these duplicates from spawning. I just thought it was a set amount of enemies I had to kill, so I was running around for so long trying to get this done and not realizing who I was trying to attack. And after a 20-minute fight using every single med pack and food item I had, we entered the buried temple. The emissary awaits, but it seems this will be the one final boss fight for the main story. But since this is a Bethesda game, we can persuade him to give us his artifacts. So we successfully do that. The hunter gives us his artifacts and tells us to complete the armillary on our ship. Then, once we power up the grav drive, we'll enter the Unity. We then grab the final artifact. We have the opportunity to say goodbye to people, so I talk to Cora and Sam, but right after Sam confronts me, so I persuade him to forgive me, and that's that. I decided to finish the armillary and grav jump to go to the Unity.
And none of that grav tech cheating? Your ship?
You made it. I hope you're enjoying the view. I never get tired of staring at it. Eternity. A thought occurs. Can anyone ever truly experience reality outside of oneself? All of time and space filters through a singular perspective. I am as much you as you are a part of everything. All points connect to here. When a star is born or dies, its existence beats through the heart of this place. The Unity. I have seen all you are, have been, and could be. Do you feel like you've lived a good life? Is there anything you regret? Fair. I wonder what your decision will be then. In order to become Starborn, you must give the universe one last thing. Yourself. That intangible part of you. That something that makes you unique amongst the infinite will explode like a supernova. A part of you will fuse with the essence of this universe, while another part leaves it behind. Forever. Do you understand what I mean? This one final leap will change this universe forever, even as you leave it behind. Unknowingly, you just answered your own questions. For who creates things but creators? That is what they have been named throughout the endless circle of time. Are they one or many? Human or alien? Terrestrial or celestial? One day, you might even meet the creators, but not this day. As for the why, so that you could ask that very question, so that you could stand before me for time immemorial and delve into the mysterious of the unending cosmos. Much like the death of a star creates new kinds of matter, so will the part of your being become fused with the Unity itself. That part is what becomes Starborn and crosses into the multiverse. Through your eyes, it will be as if waking up from a dream. Walk into the gate of light, and you will become Starborn. Everything will vanish, and you will awaken somewhere else. But that isn't your only potential destiny. You could turn around, walk away from the Unity until the stars fade away, and you will wake up on your own ship, in your universe. You could live out the life you have. I have enjoyed speaking to you once again. All of you. Every version that is here in the Unity, right now. Go out into the stars. Although you leave this universe behind, a new universe awaits you. Who will you be in this one? What choices will you make?
And that's it. That is the end of the main story, to enter the Unity and be reborn as a Starborn. You do have some other stuff happen afterwards too. You get your own Starborn ship, as well as the best armor I've had all game. We head to the lodge and they tell us we had just died trying to get the first artifact to them. So we explain the story you all just watched. If you made it this far, of course. And that's where our journey ends. Overall, I honestly rate this game a 4 out of 10. And I do think it had the potential to be in the 6 to 8 range, but let me explain why exactly I feel this way. At first, I really did like how the game started. I was iffy about the combat because I didn't like how it wasn't even similar to like how Fallout's combat was, which I absolutely love. But as I went through the game's main storyline, it felt so repetitive. Most of the missions were go here, kill people, get an artifact, go and find a power. And the power missions were the worst because it was go to the exact same copied and pasted temple, go into the same room as the last one, do a stupid mini game, and then boom, you have a power that you will never use ever again. I do like how some of the artifact missions tried to be different, like with Captain Petrov's and the phasing in and out of realities. That did come into play again later on with the final mission in the military base where you phased in and out of different realities. But once the Starborn came into play, I think that's where it kind of picked up a little bit, because you had more interesting things. You finally are learning about what's preventing you from getting the artifacts, and you finally have stuff that's actually resisting instead of just going killing like eclectics or the Shaw gang or whoever is unknowingly guarding those artifacts, and you just go in, kill them, pick it up. But I absolutely hate how the two most unique missions, which ended up being my favorite missions in this game, came at the very end of the story. I would have loved more missions like the NASA mission that forced you to go in, forced you to read computer entries, listen to terminals and everything, because that is how good RPGs build the world around you. They force you to learn the lore, and I think that's great because sometimes they say just flat out what happened, but other times you have to infer what happened, and that's why I think makes a really good community like Fallout. Fallout has communities all over the place guessing like what certain things mean in each game, and I just think that that is what captures a perfect feel for it. I just feel like the whole planet system was a huge missed opportunity. I know there's hundreds and hundreds of planets in the game, and that was their whole selling point, but none of them felt unique. There were two that felt unique because they had the big settlements like Aquila City and New Atlantis, but other than that, you're not getting anything other than maybe some different aliens or like abandoned outpost. It's just none of the planets felt unique. Now, like in Fallout 4, a lot of my actions didn't have any consequences. I just feel like a lot of stuff was thrown in there just for the sake of throwing it in there, like how the main story forces you to go to Captain Petrov's ship and forces you to have a bounty on your head, so you meet with Sysdef and you have to make the decision, work with them or become an enemy. But the problem is, if you decide to become an enemy to them, it never affects the story later on. I just really expected a game like this that took 8 years to develop would have a good enough story, or at least good enough world building to have a good game. Like Fallout 4 does not have that good of a story compared to other Fallout games, but they do an excellent job of world building. Every single building you walk into in Fallout 4, you see a story, and it can be from terminal entries, notes left on the ground, it could be pre-war stories, it could be like post-war stories. It doesn't matter. Even the skeletons will tell a story. Like you can see a couple holding hands as like their last embrace with each other, and you'll know like, okay, when the bombs dropped, these people were ready. They were just ready to accept it, and they met their fate. And I think that's what makes a really good game in general, not just like, oh, you're gonna go in here to run around and like fly with a jetpack for 5 seconds at a time and just shoot a bunch of people with space guns. I think that for me personally, I love the story aspect. I love learning about the lore of every game I play. It's just super interesting because I think it's because it's different than real life, obviously. And I'm like, I love thinking that there could be alternate realities, like, oh yeah, what if we use nuclear power after World War II like they do in Fallout 4? Like, what could have happened? What could have been? Yeah, Starfield just did not capture the magic that a lot of other games have caught for me. And I really, really want to mention this. There are 2 space fights I did in the entire playthrough. One of them was optional because it was the tutorial, and the other one I had to do. And you might be wondering, why is that a problem? The problem is they're 14 hours apart, at least for me. They were 14 hours apart, and I had no experience doing it. And the one you do at the end of the game, you're fighting the hardest enemies you can fight in the game. And I died maybe 15 times because I was so unprepared for this. The game never forces you to prepare for it. And you could make the argument that that's on the player for not doing more space fights, but when you're traveling, it's just loading screens. There's no, like, there's an animation sometimes of if you take off from a planet, but you can't travel anywhere in a unique way. Like, it's just a loading screen after loading screen after loading screen. Like at the end game, when I was going to go see the Scorpius starship, he was so far away, and I just had to grav jump to different solar systems close enough to myself. I I was just sitting there like looking at so many loading screens. But I think this is where I'm going to finally end my recap on Starfield. And I hope whoever watches this, because this is my first video, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was relaxing or informative to listen to my voice ramble on. But yeah, any criticism I'll take. I know there's always room for improvement in life, so just go a little easy on me because this is something I've personally never done before, and I would like to do it more. But yeah, I think hopefully this will be a good product, and I hope everyone has a good day, evening, or night whenever they're watching this and wherever they may be. So I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.